Don't walk home, run home. I had got myself in so much trouble with drugs that I had to get out. They were playing the game called Red Rover, where you have to try to break through the chain. Fly by and dirty red now.
What's an experience you had when you were on cocaine that you're like, this is the wildest experience that I could ever imagine? Right.
Get me, Lord, because I was a hot mess. I would tell you not to do it. Don't do it.
What's up, everybody? My name is Aaron Hass. This is the Love Works podcast. This episode is absolutely killer. It is awesome. I'm out here with a former guest's father. That's right, Najwa Smith's father. We're having a great time. We've been talking it up. This guy's my friend, bro. He is the funniest person I ever get to hang out with, and this episode's awesome. You might catch him on the radio a little bit. You might hear a little bit of his voice. He goes by the alias Fly By. What is up, my man? Kevin Smith, Fly By, whatever you want to go by. We're here, man.
Yeah, we can go with Fly By and keep it fun. You know what I mean?
Fun,
but
right.
yeah, Fly By, Mr. 958.
Yeah.
That's what they call me over the CB radio.
Come on.
But yeah, that's me. That's who I am. So,
dude, tell me about yourself. Like, tell the world a little bit about who you
are.
are.
I'm gonna take it back a ways because I just found out that you was a 21st baby. So I'm from the 20th century, 1958.
Yeah.
Okay. I was first of a set of twins that my mom had, and my twin sister was born before I. And then came me, and then so my twin sister name was Danita Michelle, and my name is Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Kevin Mitchell Smith. You know, that's how I was brought up under the name Smith, but on my birth certificate it says Cunningham because my twin sister and I were born out of wedlock.
Okay.
Before my parents got married, and then 2 months later they finally got married. So, but they didn't change the birth certificate. So,
yeah,
that's another story. But after the first set of twins, my mom had two more, had another set of twins. So there was four of us, and the second set was premature. So it's like every year for 2.5 months, we're all the same age.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, and then after my mom had the second set of twins, she had four more. My mom and dad, rather, had four more kids. So there was a total of 8 of us.
Yeah.
And we all grew up on the west side of Chicago, in the projects on the west side called Rockwell Gardens. And it was a pretty interesting life growing up in the projects, I tell you.
Yeah.
But we went to school just a block away, which was named after a president, Ulysses S. Grant. That was the name of the school that I went to from kindergarten to 6th grade.
Okay.
And I have, as a matter of fact, all my report cards from growing up. So
you still have all of them?
All of them, from kindergarten on to 6th grade, and some of my high school transcripts.
Nice.
You know, but yeah, I had a pretty interesting life growing up in the projects. Some good, some not so good. You know, back in the day when we first moved into the projects, the projects consisted of working class families. Then all of a sudden there was an influx of public aid recipients who needed housing, and next thing you know, you had working class families living with people on public aid.
Right.
You know, and that's where things changed, because then you had the haves and the have-nots.
Right.
You know, and then that became a problem because it wasn't so much the adults, but the children of those adults had baby kids, what we used to call back in the day.
Baby kids?
Baby kids. You never saw the movie Baby Kids?
No.
We don't die, we multiply. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, but I have to show you that one too then.
Come on, man.
There were a lot of, not so parental raised children out there.
Right.
and some of them were good, some of them were bad, and so it made for an up and down lifestyle growing up in the projects with that many people stacked up on top of each other,
Okay.
and then so many buildings made the same way,
Right.
So eventually over time they ended up tearing those buildings down because it got worse, it got bad, and they
Yeah.
had to spread out those criminals, so to speak.
Wow.
But they, there were some neighborhoods that were so bad, police couldn't go in there without
Jeez.
worrying about getting shot back at, and stuff like that. But it was what it was. But anyway, I had a Catholic upbringing.
Okay.
Across the bridge on the other side of the 290 Expressway was a church on the corner called Precious Blood.
Okay.
Jesus Precious Blood. You heard the story, right?
Right.
So the name of the church was Precious Blood. That's where we were all baptized at one time. So I was a lot older when I got baptized. And my youngest sister was probably, because I have the baptismal certificate, and it was somewhere in the 70s
Right.
when we got baptized. So my youngest sister was born in 1964. So it was sometime during the 60s, 70s that we got baptized. So
Nice.
and that's what took us across the bridge, and we started going to Catholic school and Catholic church and all that stuff like that. But back to the projects. Growing up wasn't always fun. It wasn't
Right.
always easy. In the beginning, it
What was the scariest part about growing up?
The scariest part about growing up in the projects was how the neighborhood changed.
Yeah.
Cocaine got infiltrated into the projects. Marijuana was infiltrated into the projects, and just dealing with your own people
Mm-hmm.
was scary at times. Because
Right.
like I said, there were some good ones and there were some bad ones. We had to fight to protect ourselves and the family at that. But we survived. We survived. I did 20 years in the projects.
Wow.
It's like doing time. You know what I'm saying? It's like doing time because when you look at the way the project buildings were constructed, they were constructed upright, but there were so many of them, and they were so tightly built around each other. It was just like a prison complex, And when the bell rings, everybody go outside. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And until you got called back upstairs. But like I said, we survived. We survived. I left after 20 years of living there. My mother was still there
Jeez.
when me and my late wife got married in 1980. I moved into the projects back in 1960,
Okay.
2 years after I was born. And the rest of my brothers and sisters grew up in the projects. Each year Bob kept having babies. So,
Yeah.
it was the second set, was born in 59, and then 60, 61, 62, 64.
Right.
And then there was 8 of us. But it was like I said, I had some best times and I had some sad times,
Right.
There was a time when a 10-year-old girl living in one of the neighboring projects lived on the 7th floor,
Yeah.
and they were playing the game called Red Rover, where you have to try to break through the chain.
Right.
Well, she broke through the chain and went through the window and fell 7 stories down to the ground and broke every bone in her body. And I went to school with that girl. I can't remember her name, but
Wow. That's got to be traumatizing.
it
for
was
you as a kid.
because when they told us at school that she had died, and how she died, it was unthinkable at the time.
Yeah, because you're like, I live there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a neighboring building
Right.
from where I stayed. It wasn't as tall because it only had 7 stories, but I lived in the building that had 13 stories. But
Right.
She crashed through playing Red Rover, and just went through the window and down
Oh,
and died
yeah.
right there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But those are the type of accidents I wouldn't say that normally happen in projects, but they do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm gonna give another sad incident. Um, by me living in a 13-story building, there was a 12-year-old boy. They didn't have bars going all the way up, so they used able to throw stuff over the banister, over the fence line. You know,
Right.
he happened to have picked up a chair and threw it over from the 12th floor, and one of the legs of the chair hit this girl and jammed in her head. She died instantly. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Over a child's stupidity. It wasn't until later that they finally put up bars
Right.
all the way up so that no one could throw anything over. And they had to do that throughout all the projects they had
Right.
in Chicago. Henry Horner, Robert Taylor, Cabrini Green, Rockwell Garden,
Right.
because people were throwing stuff over the railing. They throw their garbage. You know, and no matter where you go, you're gonna have some people who don't follow the rules,
Right.
who do whatever they want. But those were one of the scariest things is when you walk out of that building, you hope you can walk out of that building and not have nothing land in your head.
Yeah.
One of my brothers had one. A guy threw a can, he filled it up with dirt, threw it over the banister from the 10th floor. The can hit him, and he was just that much off of hitting the nerves of his brain. It was a deep cut in your head, you know, from a can. And we had to rush him to the hospital, and they said it was a good thing you brought him then, because if that can had went any deeper, ain't no telling how you turn out, you know, a vegetable or fruit cake or whatever, you know.
Right.
But there was still some good times. We used to play softball out in the field. We used to play basketball. So I mean, it was a little bit of both, you know.
Right.
Now the most scariest is, like I was saying, at one time when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and people retaliated, and they started setting places on fire.
Right.
And I've never seen anything like it before in my life, but it was like the whole city was on fire, you know.
Yeah.
There wasn't a gap in between anything, you know.
Wow.
It was just crazy, you know, bright orange,
Mhm.
you know. And that was the scariest thing, you know. And then the year after, when they were celebrating, I wouldn't say celebrating, but they was acknowledging the anniversary of Martin Luther King's death. So they would let us out of school early. And they tell us, don't walk home, run home. Because people hadn't forgotten yet. And they were still rioting even a year later, you know, because of what happened to them. But it was just one of those things, man. And we lived through it and we endured, you know.
Right.
Other than that, growing up wasn't always as easy because you had the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots wanted what the haves had, and, you know.
Right.
So they were beating up on their own people, you know, just because they didn't have what somebody else had, or they thought that you were better than them, but you never told them that. You never said that to them. They just
Right.
felt inferior to
Jeez.
themselves, you know. But I grew up in the projects and all the way through high school when we started learning how to take the train. I used to sell peanuts in the subway.
Come on, man.
Yeah, man. Mom had 8 kids.
Yeah.
We needed to make some money. So I started work at a young age.
Yeah.
We went down to the peanut factory, got a 10-pound bag of peanuts, and we sit at home and bag them up. And these were the 25-cent bags, and here the 50-cent bags. And we would fill up one box. My brother would fill up another box, and we'd be at different stations down in the subway.
Jeez.
Have you ever been in a subway?
I sure have.
Well, so you know what a subway looks like there, right?
Yeah, it looks gross.
It's scary, too. And we were
Yeah.
still little, so
Yeah.
some big guys would be coming through, and they see us down selling peanuts. We had to pack our peanuts up right away and go upstairs because if we'd have stayed down there in the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
they'd have robbed us.
Right.
But even after we got up on top, they still stuck us up in public, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And took our peanut money. So now we had to get smarter. If the first train come, you jump on it. Which don't matter which way it was going. Just get on that train
Right.
before they come out of that tunnel. You know what I mean? But we made good money down there selling peanuts. You know,
Okay.
and then later on, I picked up a paper route in the projects. You know, delivering papers in the projects, and I had to worry about my neighbors then. You know, because
Wow.
they knew every Friday was collection day, and they knew that I had a pocket full of money, and you can't take the stairway
Yeah.
in the projects because they be waiting on you
Yeah.
in the stairway. You best to take the elevator up and the elevator down, but sometimes the elevator didn't work, and you ain't had no choice but to take the stairways. And it was a battle just trying to get back to the paper station to turn in the money. You know what I'm saying?
Jeez.
So, but I still, at the same time, there was some good times, you know. There was some good times. During the wintertime, taking the sleds out, playing in the snow, you know.
Yeah.
There was a year when Chicago was snowed in. Nothing in the city of Chicago moved. And we had to literally stay home, you know. So we played in the snow. You know how it go.
Come on. Yeah.
Snow is waist high, you know. You can barely move.
Yeah.
You know, but there were some good times, you know. But then there were some times you just needed to pay close attention to your neighbors and to your surroundings, and protect yourself, you know, because you had some bad families in the neighborhood where they were just straight up bullies, you know.
Wow.
And there was this. I was on the basketball court playing basketball, and my twin sister was standing around some guys. They had been drinking, and they got flirtatious with their hands. And my sister did the smart thing by just walking away.
Right.
But now they gonna get up and follow her and start cussing and calling her all kind of names and stuff like that. So I had to stop what I'm doing to go walk my sister to the area where the elevator is so she can get upstairs. Okay, you know?
Jeez.
So while we standing there waiting on the elevator, they steady running off at the mouth and this, that, and the other. And finally the elevator came down, the door opened. I let my sister get on first. Then I got on, and as the door closed, the one guy reached in and stuck his hand in there and tapped me upside the head. I jumped off that elevator so fast and went to bing, 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 because if I let him get away with it, he'd have thought he got away with it, and he figured he'd be able to do it again.
Right.
So I had to nip that in the bud and let him know, hey, you can't just, you know.
You ain't messing around.
No. You didn't have no business touching me like that because it was intentional.
Right.
So next thing you know, there was a battle royale going on downstairs. My sister and I was knocking up on the guy, and another guy jumps in and says, oh, it can't be no two of y'all. And I turned around and cocked him too, you know, because he was going to get in it anyway.
Right.
So I figured I might as well get a few good ones off before it got intense. But it got even intenser because he ran away, went and got a pole, came back at me with the pole, and my other brother came out who was in the karate sticks back in the day, you know, doing the Bruce Lee thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he came out, hit the pole, bent the pole, and just when he was getting ready to swing again, my other brother came out of the woodworks and bam, you know, next thing you know, it was 4 against 2. So we was tearing them up. You know what I mean?
Come on.
You mess with one member of the family, you mess with all because we didn't bother you, you bothered us. So you got to take the grunt for it, so whatever's coming, you know?
Yeah.
But we had those kind of battles, you know,
Yeah.
with bullies in the neighborhood. But over time, you know, the neighborhood even changed even more when marijuana and cocaine was infiltrated into the neighborhoods, and
Yeah.
growing up as a teenager, we were dealing with the peer pressures of life, trying to seek approval by our other peers. So yeah,
Yeah.
we stood around smoking cigarettes and smoking marijuana, which wasn't the right thing, but we were trying to be cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, wow. What a mistake, you know what I'm saying? Because it led to more things down the road, because what was just an attraction turned into an addiction, you know.
Mm.
And as I got older and grew up and got married, um, I found a job before I got married. So I was already working
Okay.
at 18, and 2 years later, my wife, who was from a different project, we ended up getting married and moved to the north side, but my brothers and sisters were still living in the project, so I still came back
Yeah.
to the projects, and over time the neighborhood was continuing to get worse and worse and worse, and and change, and in a way we kind of got caught up and what the neighborhood was changing into,
Mm-hmm.
as far as people smoking marijuana and doing cocaine. And that at one time I was afraid of cocaine because I heard about it and I'm hearing about what it did, and then the fact that I couldn't afford it
Right.
because it was so expensive. They was calling it the rich man's high back in
Yeah.
the day, but over time the drug cartels figured out a way to break it down, cut it down so they can sell more,
Okay.
make it affordable. Oh, what a mistake that was,
Right.
when they made it affordable. And it wasn't really affordable. People just,
Found a way to get it.
yeah, and they liked what the cocaine made them feel, how it
Mm-hmm.
feel, and and they had to have more, and they had to have more. And like they said, what was it? One was too many, and 1,000 was never enough.
Wow.
Where they continue the use,
Mm-hmm.
because once you got that first high, you'll never get that high again.
Right.
It's like chasing a ghost. You know what I mean?
Wow. What's an experience you had when you were on cocaine that you're like, this is the wildest experience that I could ever imagine?
I would have to say, to be honest, sex and drugs,
Yeah.
cocaine and sex, because, and it's true to this day that women, it was easy for them to get a hold of drugs because of what they had to offer
Right.
in their bodies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sex was the thing. Women was willing to give themselves up sexually for cocaine.
Wow.
It was just easy. It was too easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I found myself manipulating
Mm-hmm.
women for that purpose.
Right.
Hey, I got, come on, I got a dime bag or whatever, and they was willing to go. You know what I
Right.
mean? And wildest time. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't hard. You know what I mean? Because by that time there was so many people hooked on drugs. You didn't have to go far
Right.
to go find someone who was willing to give their body up for sex
Jeez.
or whatever. But and being on drugs myself and knowing that I took advantage of those women as well. Forgive
Right.
me, Lord, because I was a hot mess.
Right.
Because it was just too easy. You know what I mean?
Just right at your fingertips,
Ye-
and it's what felt good.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the life of an addict at the end of
it
the day.
is. It was. It went hand in hand.
Right.
You know. And the worst part about it was that they had no problem giving their bodies up for it because they knew that what they were getting from it. So
If you could tell those women something right now, what would you let them all know?
um, that technically our bodies are supposed to be a temple.
Mm.
And we're not supposed to defile that temple. And we've defiled that temple with alcohol and drugs
Right.
and manipulated our bodies for that very same thing,
Yeah.
And I would tell you not to do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's just too easy for a woman
Right.
to give herself up. And to this day, I know women to this day
Are still in the same cycle.
doing that, and I feel bad for them because it's gonna lead to something worse later on.
Right.
I'm glad I'm not a woman. Really,
that's understandable.
because it's too easy. Especially if you get caught up in that type of game.
Right.
And it also for them it could lead to prostitution.
Exactly.
Where they want it so bad that they have no other way but to prostitute themselves.
Give themselves away.
For that drug. So it's a wild thing.
So the season of life you're in right now is not even like aligned with who you once were. You're a whole different person.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
Like, speak about why you left Chicago. You're born and raised Chicago in the projects, and now here you are, you're thriving in life, doing some awesome things, and the world knows you as Flyby. Tell me a little bit about
Chicago knows me as Flyby. Indiana knows me as
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Now, one of the main reasons I came to Indiana was I had got myself in so much trouble with drugs that I had to get out.
Okay.
And when I say so much trouble with drugs, I owed people money, and I couldn't pay them.
Yeah.
And I just left just like that. I had to tell my sister, I gotta leave. I gotta leave tonight. And she was upset with me, and I understood it, But if I stayed, I brought danger to the family. I brought danger to myself.
Right.
Mostly, and I needed to break away from that. And then secondly, I knew where my children were. I knew where my wife had passed away from Indiana. I had came down here earlier during the stages when she was going through her chemo and stuff, and I was basically trying to reconnect with the family. And that was before she passed. It was like 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Because 4 years later, she passed away in 2009. So I came down trying to reunite, but it didn't work. And I ended up going back to Chicago. But the situation got even worse when I went back because I didn't stop doing drugs, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the more I stayed, the worse it got. And, I started stealing money. And the one thing I didn't do was sell my goods.
Mm.
Most people sell their TVs or any kind of product that they had
Right.
for a couple of dollars or whatever. But I didn't do that. I stole money, and but it had gotten to a point where it was just no way out, because even though I was going to treatment for recovery, I still hadn't made up my mind to stop.
Right.
So once I got out of treatment, I continued to use, and each time I used, the situation I was digging a deeper and deeper hole until soon, finally, it wasn't until 2017 that I had enough of Chicago, and I needed to get back down to Indiana and start over. Literally, when I left Chicago, I had not planned to come back, not to live. I came back and stayed a day or two, but then I was right back in Indiana because I didn't want to get too comfortable and end up running into the wrong people. You know what I mean?
Get yourself caught.
Yeah, get caught, messing around. You can't dip and dab like that,
Right.
without bumping into somebody. So in 2017, I had made up my mind that I'm coming to Indiana and I'm not going back to live. We have a family house where I left, but I'm
Right.
not going back there to live, So, and then it gave me an opportunity by me coming to Indiana to reconnect with my children,
Mm-hmm.
maybe get to connect with some of my grandchildren, and
Because you have 14 grandchildren.
yeah, yes, I do. 14. Actually, I have 13. My very first grandchild by my oldest daughter died very, very young
Mm.
during infancy. I don't think she made it out of the hospital
Wow.
before she died, and she was like maybe a pound or
Wow.
two. She was very small. Um, my oldest daughter had her prematurely, I believe. Don't correct me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, she was the first baby born,
Wow.
but didn't live long. Her name was Mahogany.
Mm.
And then my daughter had two more after that.
Yeah.
And they're thriving, right
Come
now
on.
to this day.
Yeah.
The oldest grandchild, and she's not my oldest grandchild, she's my second oldest. Then again, she could be my first. I got so many, man,
They
it's
all
hard to
over the
keep
place
up.
now.
Yeah. I got two older grandchildren, three older grandchildren that are in their adult age, in their 20s and up. The rest of them are still coming up.
Okay.
Like Najua's three girls and then my three daughters down in Kentucky. My son had 6 kids,
Okay.
3 baby mamas. I'm not gonna say his name, but he know who he is if he's listening. But yeah, so he had 6. Aisha had 3. That's 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then Najwa had 3. That's 12. And then my youngest Kadira has 2. So that's 14.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them.
That is a bunch, man.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be a lot of life just around you. Like, man, it's just like, you have a lot of fun with your grandchildren?
Well, half of them. I'm still waiting to meet the other half because
Yeah.
I've never met them. My
Yeah.
son, 3 different mamas, so they not all together.
Right.
And some of them live in Ohio. He has a set of twin daughters
Mm-hmm.
who lives in, well, I think they're in Chicago now, but the baby mother denied my son the right to see his own children.
Wow.
So, that's another story. That's one of the reasons why I never saw them. So, because they were keeping them from their daddy. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
and then my son had an older son. He's still in Ohio. So I have 14 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren.
Wow.
So there's some greats in there too already, but, and I haven't seen those yet either. So
Jeez.
it is the way it is. My son and his son and his first child came to Indiana. I only seen him once, but at the time he's still a baby, so he still didn't know who I am.
Right.
So, but other than that, I try to make contact with the ones I can.
Yeah.
Which is Najua's and the youngest, Kadira. That's why there's a big difference between the first 2
Right.
and the second 2, because there's that 9-year gap.
Right.
All by the same woman, of course, and they all my children got the same daddy, okay? So,
Hey, that's awesome, man.
but it is what it is, and you can't say much about it, other than it happened that way, and
Yeah.
but I still try to even my wife and I got separated, but whenever there's a family reunion, I included the entire family,
Mm-hmm.
even my wife, even though we were separated, to be a part of that family reunion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, my struggle was hard, but well worth it because I knew in the long run, sooner or later, I'll get a chance to reconnect. And
Yeah.
then at that particular time, I have to try to make the best of it, which I've been doing so far, as far as the ones I am in contact with. Um, I do what I can by them and try to make the best of things.
Wow. So here you are now. What's the next steps for you in your life?
Enjoying my retirement.
Enjoying your retirement. Come on,
Man, I like closing that door and turning the world off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I turn the world off once I get back in my house, but then I turn it back on when I turn on a TV or a laptop, or my cell phone. I'm playing games on my cell phone.
Yeah.
I have a
What's your go-to game, man?
Heyday.
Heyday. What is that?
That's a farm game.
Oh.
I have a farm.
That sounds incredibly boring.
I've been playing it for 10 years. I've developed that farm, bro.
This man got the best farm
look,
on
I got
the
the
planet.
cleanest farm. I mean, I got a little town that I go to, and market people come to buy stuff.
What are they buying? Grass?
No, they're buying produce. They're buying fruits, vegetables, clothing, goods.
I'm about to check out your farm, man.
Yeah, man. And the best part about it is when I screen mirrored on the TV. Then the farm looks even bigger watching it from the TV versus playing it on the phone.
Hey, man, good for you, bro.
Oh, yeah. My second go-to game is Jurassic World.
Oh, okay.
Like the movie, you know. So in that, it's like a Jurassic Park.
Okay.
I got various Jurassic animals.
Okay.
I can do battle and compete with other people.
You just fighting dinosaurs?
Yeah. Or birds or the Mosasaurus, which is that underwater.
Yeah, like the alligator giant.
The giant,
thing.
bigger than a whale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mosasaurus, and the Velociraptors and the Indominus Rex. Just like in the movie, you know what I mean?
There you go.
I have to show you that one too. But so those are the basic games I play on my phone. Plus I have a bowling game. Then I play chess on my phone, or I play chess on my computer.
Okay.
On my computer, it's another story, bro. Because I have gaming apps. Plus the games that the computer comes with. I'll
Right.
play some of those games, But then I have the streaming app from my smartphone. I got a controller,
Yeah.
that I can pair with my TV.
Okay.
So I'm playing Tetris. I'm playing some old school games. Pac-Man.
Are you any good at Pac-Man though?
No, I'm not any good in none of them.
I thought you were good at the farming one.
Yes, that's the only one.
That's the only one
Farming
you're
and
good at.
Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And bowling.
Okay.
And chess. Oh, and I play solitaire. I play mahjong.
So you got all of the games.
Not all of the games.
You got most of them.
Well, my I got a lot of games I can play. I have, I'm not bored at home.
That's good.
And then like I do on my smart TV. I do the World Poker Tour. But I'm not playing for money. I'm playing for free.
For free.
Yeah. Because I get my butt whooped because I be taking too many chances. I go all in. I'm going all in, and next thing you know, they
ain't
got
got
a
nothing.
full house or a flush, and I'm taking out.
Right. We got to play poker together now.
For free.
Oh, for free.
Yeah, I only play for free.
Oh,
so you'll have to play my World Poker Tour.
Let's play it.
Yeah, but you have to come to the house.
Let's do it.
I got it installed on the TV.
Let's do it.
What else I play on that? I play Tetris, Pac-Man, World Poker Tour. There's one I'm leaving out I can't think of. Solitaire and something else. But look, dude, I'm fully entertained at home.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean,
Does it ever get lonely there though?
no.
Could you ever see yourself? You mentioned that your late wife passed away.
Yeah. My late girlfriend passed away.
Yeah, so like you've had a lot of loss in your
My
life.
mom passed away. My mother-in-law passed away, and just recently my sister. Most of the most important women in my life have passed away. Even when I say sisters
Does it scare
and
you to be
mother-in-law,
around or be close to other women now?
it I don't want to go through another
Loss.
loss like that with a
Right.
girlfriend or a wife. I just recently went through one with my twin sister who passed away in December last year, which was it was hard to bear, but I understood it because that's a part of life.
Right.
We don't know when our time is. We don't. I never thought it would be her time so soon.
Right.
But or my youngest brother, for the most part, who died at the age of 37. You know, and he was the youngest brother of the family, and even to this day, those losses combined with the current medical issues that my living brother and sister has
Mm-hmm.
is add on to the losses. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I have a brother who had his leg amputated, who lives at the family house in Chicago, and my youngest sister, the youngest, who has advanced Alzheimer's. So she's here, but she ain't here,
Right.
you know. And then the second twin sister, who just recently just retired from her job, and now is going through some medical issues, you know.
Yeah.
And it's shocking and it's heartbreaking, you know, especially to see her, who sacrificed her life to take care of those at home who needed help, and now she needs help.
Right.
So, you know, the clock's ticking on all of us, bro. We just don't know where, do we?
Yeah.
You know.
We're all gonna die. We just don't know
Yeah, I
what
mean,
the timeline is.
I'm coming to terms with my life at this stage of the game. I'm gonna take and make the most out of what I got,
Right.
and hopefully in the process find my way back to the Lord, so I can be entered into His heavenly kingdom.
Wow.
That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get right with God so that I can.
What does your relationship with God look like right now? I know you've
Well,
had a wild time, and now you're stepping back into
it's a
even
good
church.
start. It's a good start, especially the position I put myself in, and it's not about the service. It's about the connection, and even though I'm providing a service, I still gotta know that He's within me, and that I know and feel Him within me as I am with Him. So just trying to assure myself of that connection,
Wow.
you know, and that's a process because of where I've been. I'm still, you know, I ain't gonna say the devil trying to hold on to me because I hoped and want to believe that God has already received me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's a psychological thing, you know. Do you believe? And I always believed. I knew I strayed away. I always feared God from what I was taught in the early days. But
Yeah.
even to this day, now that I realize, boy, I done did some damage. I need to do some damage control now. I need to try to get it right, you know. And I'm hoping that what I'm doing and how God sees me at the point where I'll be able to see His heavenly kingdom and be a part of His heavenly kingdom. So that's my work right now. When I close my eyes, I want to know, as Jesus knew that on the third day He rose.
Come on.
I want to know that I'm gonna rise too. You know, I want to rise with Him. So
Yeah, man.
you know, that's where I'm at mentally. You know,
Does that ever get nerve-wracking or scary for you?
no, because what I've been reading in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
is putting my mind at ease as to
Good.
how I should proceed life in general, because I already know that life on earth is temporary,
Wow. Right.
but heaven is everlasting. So
That's so good.
that's where I want to be at. And you know, I've learned things in the Bible too, because because I'm reading out of Mark's now, and one of the other verses I was listening to, like the story of the woman who was married to the one man, and he dies. They didn't have children, and that's the one thing that confused me. How did they pass off a woman to the brother, and they, back in the old days, that's how things were done,
Right.
But anyway, he dies, so she's married with the other brother. He dies. They didn't have no children, and it went on and on. She didn't have any children by any of the 7 brothers.
Wow.
And then she dies. So they asked Jesus, well, who does she belong to? And in technical terms, Jesus said she didn't belong to nobody, because once you enter heaven, you're an angel. There's no relationships, or the marriage of what was on earth does not exist in heaven. Okay. You're just an angel, And I don't want to say floating, the angel-y wings or whatever, but that relationship no longer exists. Mm. But that's what he was saying. Now, I got to talk to Pastor Zach and Pastor Muta about that and verify what I was hearing is true. And I believe that it's possible, because what we create on earth won't exist in heaven.
Right.
That's what I think it was telling me. So
that's good stuff.
But I got to still confirm it with my pastors, saying, is this what I was hearing?
I love it, man.
But it's okay, so I love her spiritually, but will I see her in heaven? Probably not.
You don't think so?
Maybe in passing.
Maybe in passing?
We ain't going to be hooking up like...
You said we're not hooking up in heaven.
The mind, and what you hear on TV, what you see on TV, you see that happening on TV, but is it real?
He said, weird, yeah.
I'm like, I understand.
He said, I'm going to see you in passing, but we're not hooking up again.
Right. No,
he said, I moved on.
Hey,
I
Kevin.
moved on now.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm in love with different things.
Will the family come together as a whole? We can't say what's going to happen in heaven. We don't know.
Right. No, I'm just...
Yeah, I know, but you understand where I'm coming from, though, bro.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
But that's I need somebody to clarify that.
Yeah.
Just, am I reading the right thing?
Right.
But according to the minister that I was on the podcast that I was, as he interpreted, that's what they were saying. But everybody's interpretation could be different, Right. So, yeah, okay. I hope I see her. I hope we can hook up. I mean, because in heaven, there are
sex is way better in heaven.
There are no physical organs. There's no heart. There's no... When you see the angels in the TV, they ain't got no features that are, or extremities that are showing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm getting deep now, y'all. So, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying not to say in layman terms, no breast or vagina or penises. You know what I mean?
Right.
The angels don't have those organs. They don't have sex.
Right.
It's a spiritual connection. I guess. I don't know. Quote me if I'm wrong, bro. Somebody tell me something.
Right.
If you get a rebuttal, let me know, okay?
I'll let you speak what you believe.
I don't know. I'm just going by what I read, and we can go to it and talk about it ourselves in the Bible. I'm sure you got a Bible over here.
I don't keep those here. I'm messing with you.
I would have to go.
I got some in every room, man.
Listen, the Bible I've been bringing to Relevant belongs to my youngest brother, the one who passed away.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my Bibles. When I left Chicago, they discarded everything I own. I don't know if it was out of anger or what, but they could have called me and told me, if you want any of this stuff, come get it. But they just cleaned out my apartment upstairs.
Jeez.
But it's okay. It's okay. So I have both my brother's Bibles, the big one and the one that I bring to church with me, or bring to Relevant. Is Relevant considered a church?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a non-denominational church.
Yep.
Which is fine. Yeah, that means y'all take anybody.
Everyone's welcome.
Everybody's welcome. Yeah, then that's the one thing I love about it. And that's what also had me coming every
right
No, I had made up my mind. I said, no, I'm coming to church. She opened the door earlier, and I came a
Nodule?
few times. Yes, Nodule did. And then I kept turning her down, until recently, within the last 3-4 months, I finally told Nodule I want to come to church.
Wow.
Because although I was raised a Catholic, and the Catholic Mass I watched on TV every Sunday, I needed more. I needed something more because I wasn't feeling it spiritually. And it's a big difference knowing that you're just sitting there going through the routine and not connecting versus going to relevant and connecting. I connected with the people, and and everything changed after that. And
Right.
I saw and I felt the spirituality just in the group, you
Wow.
know.
So tell me a little bit about, like, so you got plugged into the church. Najwa invited you. It was a spiritual, like, you're being transformed.
Yeah, it was a spiritual awakening. You know what I mean? I felt like I need to be here.
Mm.
I wanted to be here, you know,
Yeah.
and it drew me in, and I pretty much committed myself, especially when they do that thing with people who come for the first time and they take them over to Studio A.
Yeah.
That's when I accepted officially
Mm.
coming to Relevant on a regular basis and being a part of what's relevant, you know,
I love that, man.
and learning how to serve and be a part and get connected,
Yeah.
you know, because now people are talking to me. I didn't have that before.
Right.
My neighbors don't talk to me. They'll walk by you like you ain't there.
Right.
And you guys opened your arms from day
Mhm.
one. So, I mean, it's been, and then, you know, just the fact that I was connected with Najwa really made it special. You know,
Yeah.
oh, we just love Najwa. You know, I'm like, yeah, okay, now we got separated now. I want y'all to love just me. Okay. Najwa got her props because she been going there for a while. So I'm glad they see her as a big part of Relevant, and
Right.
she is, you know. And I don't want them to just see me because of Najwa. I want them to see me because of me.
Mm.
Because believe me, Lord, I need help. I was a broken. I was broken. And I needed fixing. And Najwa and I are two different individuals. But if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been part of Relevant. So,
Right.
you know, I thank her for that much, and I thank her for her bringing me in. But the decision was all mine
Right.
when I called her and told her I want to go to church every Sunday. So it's a routine. I don't even have to say, hey, now don't forget that I'm going to church.
Right.
It's automatic, you know. I just
Yeah.
got to wait for her to pull up in front to pick me up.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's been good, you know. So, um,
I love that, man.
yeah, just the fact that Relevant opened up and took me in. So that was the key.
That's awesome.
And just like you guys, y'all see bigger things, and I'm saying, I want to see what y'all see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and I want to see where I go with it as well. And uh, just the past few months, it's been a total change. You know,
Right.
I've become involved. I'm a part of Team Relevant. Now I feel like Team Relevant. You know,
Right.
and you know, I have a responsibility to the church as well
Right.
as to myself as far as connecting with God. So,
And that's awesome. So I have a tradition on this podcast where I open it up for my guests to ask me any question, uncut, unfiltered. What's your question for me?
yeah. How did you get involved with Relevant?
Right. Yeah. So I got involved with Relevant because really, I mean, I grew up not really even liking church. Church was not a thing for me.
Right.
I went to church. It was kind of just like a routine type of thing. Gave my life to Jesus at a younger age. And found the church while traveling, and decided, yo, I'm moving here for this place. This is the place I want to be. And so ended up getting plugged in, fell deeply in love with it, and it's become the greatest learning ground for me out of any other place I've been in life. So it's amazing. Is Niles my favorite place on the planet? Absolutely not. But this church is definitely up there.
I could say the same thing about South Bend. It's not but because my hometown is Chicago.
Exactly.
I love Chicago. I mean, and you're from Memphis.
Right.
What can you say about Memphis, bro?
We got the food. We got the food,
Yes,
baby.
sir.
Man,
Yes,
our food's
sir.
up
Yes,
there.
sir. Because I had been going down. Memphis is the last CB function of the year.
Okay.
That's the way it was before the COVID.
Okay.
Memphis will host the last CB function of the year, and then we go into next year,
Okay.
starting all over. But it was always the last break of the year.
So tell the world a little bit about, like, because you go by Flyby.
Yeah.
Tell them a little bit about that, bro.
Well, you know, when I first got into CB radio,
Tell everybody what CB radio is.
CB radio stands for two things: Citizen Band Radio,
Okay.
constantly buying.
Okay.
Because you're constantly buying stuff for your CB radio.
Yeah.
So that's what CB stands for. But technically, a CB radio is a citizen band radio where people like you and I can communicate
Right.
over the airwaves.
Okay.
It was in the beginning a trucker thing.
Right.
When truckers were going up and down the highway and needed direction or whatever. There's a gnat buzzing me. But truckers use it for communication. Or if there was an accident on the road, where was the accident at, so they know whether or not to move over or what lane to get in. Or if they saw Smokey the Bear, well, I wouldn't say Smokey the Bear, but Smokey, who was a state trooper, slow it down. Smokey's on the road, you know, so they were letting them know when the state troopers are out there.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
they don't get pulled over for speeding or give the state troopers any reason to pull them over, you know. But people started using the CB rails just to have fun.
Right.
And basically all we do is we say, top of the morning to you. Just want to shout out and say, hey, talk to you on the bounce around. Fly by in the Mobile signing off or going 10-7 or whatever the numeric code is on CB. But it was just a way to meet new people and people who had similar likes about this radio. Because, you know, once you got involved, it was what's the word I want to use? I got hooked.
Yeah. Because
I started out with a regular walkie-talkie. And I was trying to talk on the CB and it wasn't working. Until finally I met some guys and they hooked me up and set me up in the car and told me about CB radio. And next thing you know, I'm out there hooting and hollering. And there was one CBer who's still a CBer that they call himself Crazy. And you'll meet him if you shoot down with me, man.
Come on.
But he said, don't worry, be patient. It'll come to you. This when I first started out 20 years ago, but as the time went on, I met more CBers and I started learning more about CBing and setting it up and the cookouts they were having. They were just getting together, having a beer in the park or whatever the case may be, and talking, I whooped you last night, or you know you didn't, man, or blah, blah, blah. Some of anything, you know, but it was a lot of fun and great camaraderie.
Man, I love that.
Yeah, amongst people with the same likes, you know, same hobbies and habits.
Man, and you're good at it, bro. Like you telling me all about it.
When you see my talk show, you ride down with me, man. It's gonna be on, bro.
Come on,
you're gonna see a whole new person on that radio.
Come on.
From the time I get there, plus during the time when we listen to the competition,
right?
And that's where you can bet side money. But you need to look under the hood and in the back of these Suburban before you spend your money.
Right.
And find out whether or not they going to make you some money, you know, because they be betting. They call it the killing flow.
Right.
So I can't wait to get on the killing flow and make me some money, you know. oh, this Suburban gonna beat that Suburban, and then there gonna be some people that say, oh, I got 10 on it, I got 20
Right.
or whatever. I mean,
That's
a lot of
awesome.
fun though, you know.
That sounds like fun, man.
It is, man. And I'm gonna give you a sample so you'll be prepared when you see the video.
Give the world a sample. Give him a little bit. Give him a little bit.
You
of
want to
flyby.
give him a little bit of my talk show?
Give him a little bit of flyby, bro.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna say this. This is me crossing the border.
Let's hear it.
Stepping in from Indiana. Although I can talk in Indiana too, because there are sea bears in Indiana. But
let's hear some flyby.
how about it? How about it, DX Land? How about it, DX Land? You got flyby in the Mobile working this week station. I said this be flyby in the Mobile working this week station in Illinois. Can you hear me, breaker?
Breaker. This is sexy Aaron. I'm just like
We're gonna have to do something about it. We're gonna call you Red.
Red.
We're gonna call you Dirty Red because of the red hair. This be dirty.
I'm
I got
Dirty
my
Red.
sidekick in the Mobile, Dirty Red. We trying to get down to the big breakdown in Joliet, Illinois. Anybody out there here fly by in the Mobile trying to make it through the wide streets of Chicago, come on.
Man, that's awesome.
I mean, it's gonna be on, man. It's gonna be, I'm gonna
Dirty
be.
Red and flyby.
Yeah,
bro.
fly by and Dirty Red now. My name go first, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
You good, man.
And then I'm gonna turn it over to you. You gonna just let the tongue flow, bro.
Let the tongue
You know,
flow.
because technically we're speaking English, but there are some CB lingos that go in there with it. You know,
Right.
I'm trying to make it to the big dance.
Right.
I'm trying to make it to the big key down,
Uh-huh.
which is the competition on Saturday when they
Okay.
compete. It's gonna be awesome, bro. They're gonna have a red, yellow light, green light. That the two trucks are gonna be lined up. Once that red light hit green, they're gonna key down. Five. Or somebody might be saying, worldwide. And somebody 100 miles away is gonna be listening, and he's gotta tell the guys on the phone who they heard over one another. Who was the loudest? Either it was 555 or worldwide. But they're gonna be playing the tape at the same time. So they gotta bring that tape back to the dance. They're gonna be in the war room listening to the Watergate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that there's no discrepancy as to who won.
They gonna
So
get it
both
for real.
sides, both parties will be in the room listening to the tape. So they don't feel like they got cheated out of their win. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what the Watergate tape is for.
Okay.
They're gonna play the tape during the key down, and then gonna bring it back to the dance. All different levels. There are different levels,
Okay.
but the AC Sky pays the most money
All right.
because those guys paid the most money
To do it.
to have their mobile set up for that.
Right.
I mean, like I said, you're gonna see Suburbans with 3 and 4 alternators under the hood. Some of them got 7. You're gonna see a big DC power supply in the back of the Suburban, or you may see a AC power supply because they convert DC into AC.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, big power, man. There was I was down in Hot Springs, Arkansas
Nice.
for my very first CB break.
Okay.
And there was a guy who had a pacemaker. He was too close to not, I mean, he wasn't right up on top of it, but he was close enough where when those guys keyed down, the RF coming out of the antennas stopped his pacemaker from working. So they had to bring an ambulance out to the place. He survived, but that's just how much power is
running
coming
through
out of that antenna.
Jeez.
This much of that antenna. It's going through a whole stick, but it don't matter until it comes out the tip of that antenna.
Right.
There was another time we was riding, and there was a little Yugo. You remember the Yugo cars they used to make back in the day? You ever heard of a Yugo?
I don't think so.
Well, it was a tiny little vehicle, just like a Prius they talk about now. The guy I was riding with kept keying his box, but he was shutting the car off because of the RF that was coming out of his Suburban going through his truck affected the electronics in that vehicle.
Jeez.
And every time he keyed, that car kept slowing down because the RF was
So heavy.
heavy on it. Yeah.
Jeez.
And he was getting a kick out of it. The guy that was driving the Suburban was getting a kick out of shutting that car off every time.
That's
But,
awesome, man.
I mean, but that's you would see, and the fact that the difference between DC and AC is direct current versus alternating current, just like in the house.
Right.
House runs on DC. I mean AC, alternating current.
Right.
Car runs on DC,
Mhm.
direct current. So it's a big difference as to the science behind the currents that are running through it, you know. But
Man,
I can't wait. I can't wait.
that's exciting, man. If you could leave the world right now with a little bit of truth, like if you could leave them with anything right now, what would you let them know?
Man, I would say you gotta turn your life to God, man, because without Him, there's nothing. If you don't connect with God now, you won't see Him later. You know what I mean? Because I want to be where I'm not gonna sit on the right hand of God, but I can be in the same room with Him somewhere. At least I'm hoping. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, in the Bible say, "In my house there are many mansions."
Mhm.
He may be in one of them, you know what I'm saying? Or he
Right.
may be in all of them. I just want to be a part of that, you know?
Yeah.
I want to live forever
Come on.
in heaven, you know what I mean?
Come
So
on. I love it.
that's what I'm trying. That's where I'm trying to get. So
Man, that's awesome. And man, I'm thankful that you're on the podcast. I appreciate you. Flyby or Kevin Smith. This was an awesome episode. Man, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're not, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and hit it with that 5 stars, and then go to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. But man, follow us on Instagram at LoveWorksMVT. Same for TikTok at LoveWorksMVT. And you know what? I love you a bunch. This was a dope episode, and you're an amazing person. Peace out.